All right, and our first guest has just joined us. It's Vitas I'm really bad with this. I apologize.
You're doing
Vitas
great, Bill.
Carosella. Contributing writer with Forbes. The man knows a lot about different sports. He's also covering rugby here in America and just the growth of it. And Vitas, thank you so much for being here and joining us. And how is this event for you? You enjoying it?
Yeah, really enjoying the event so far. I thought it was a decent crowd yesterday.
Yeah.
Good to see a lot of locals out and just a lot of rugby fans. Obviously, it being so close to New England, it being in New England and close to Boston, you get a lot of Free Jacks fans. So, yeah, it's just really nice to see people coming out and supporting the game.
Good.
So hopefully it'll be a good turnout today.
And you've obviously been following the growth of rugby in America for quite some time, right? So to see an event like this where how many fans are coming out to this, the improvement of some of the festivities and the involvement in those festivities, in your opinion, in terms of the build-up to this championship, like how much does this reflect how much rugby has grown in America since it began, 4 or 5 years ago?
I think we're just seeing year on year that there's more and more people interested in rugby, more casual fans coming out, and I think that just shows that the growth of the game is trending in a positive direction, and hopefully it continues that way. It's good to see people of all ages and different demographics coming out, so hopefully that'll continue. Yeah.
And from your perspective, do you have thoughts on what US needs to do next in terms of how can we keep going from here? Because I think one thing that we have to do as to grow the game is continue to innovate.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on what they need to do to innovate and continue to keep growing?
I think that's the $1 million question, right? That's what everybody's asking. I think every fan would have an opinion on that.
Right.
Honestly, I think just continue driving the game, continue pushing in the grassroots as well. To have more fans, you need to have more people who are aware of the sport, know how to play it, love it from a young age. And so really pushing the sports in elementary schools, in after-school programs, in other schools, in camps and whatnot, is getting those people in the door early so that a 5-year-old kid will say, hey, I want to play rugby as opposed to basketball or football or alongside those sports as well.
Right.
And then obviously operationally, there's a million different things that you can do. I think obviously bringing the World Cup here, having the Olympics here, having the Women's World Cup here, it puts rugby in the spotlight. And we have to capitalize on that while it's here, but we also have to build that. I mean, World Rugby, USA Rugby, they talk about that long runway to these events.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we prioritize them and capitalize on them before they even arrive.
100%.
Well, that was my follow-up, was the timeline. I know, again, to add on to the $1 million question, it's with the World Cup being around the corner. In your opinion, what is the successful timeline and how do you capitalize on that momentum to make sure that, we do maximize the growth within this 5-year span that we do have with the World Cup around the corner?
It's a great question. And I think really it depends on what your expectations are. So I think, it'd be a question for USA Rugby, it'd be a question for World Rugby of what do you want from these World Cups that are coming here and from these Olympics? Do you want a growth in the player pool? Do you want a growth in marketing here in the U.S.? Do you want more franchises being, expansion of the league here? What are we trying to accomplish? And then you'd have to build in those short-term objectives. I would imagine, I'm just speaking, from the outside looking in, we want some more clubs here, right? We want more teams in the MLR competing year on year. We probably want a better pathway for more talent. We also probably want to be able to attract high-level talent from around the world, right?
Yes.
Right.
What would it do for MLR if instead of a Ma'a Nanu, who's coming here at the end of his career, and he's been amazing, and I love Ma'a, but what would it mean if an Antoine Dupont was playing here, or a Bowden Barrett was playing here, or a Henry Pollock who's just breaking through in England? What if in 4 years he said, I want to go play in the U.S. as opposed to France or Japan or somewhere else? Those are unrealistic targets, or maybe those are the targets we should be setting for ourselves.
Right.
Exactly.
And during your writing and travel about rugby, are there certain parts of the nation that are maybe better at promoting the youth game or building from the academy younger level? Is there a part of the country, West Coast, New England, or is it just so scattered?
I think it's a little scattered.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to generalize by a region per se. There are places within those regions that do a really good job.
Yeah.
The West Coast gets a lot of praise because it has a lot of the Polynesian immigrant mentality there. I just think there are places throughout the country, little pockets everywhere, that do a good job. We need to highlight those and learn from those, right? Like there are places in the Midwest that are doing a great job. There are places in the Northeast that are doing a great job. The problem is they're very small pockets that, from my perspective at least, are not connected yet, right?
Yes.
And those, the things that they're doing well and are not being transferred to other places, perhaps.
Right.
And so we need to take that learning and that understanding from one pocket in the Northeast, let's say, or in New England, and make sure that can be used in the Deep South as well, or in the flyover states, or wherever across the country. I think we need to share the knowledge, basically.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are you preparing an article for this weekend?
I am preparing.
So my name is spelled Pete.
I am preparing an article, possibly two. I came here kind of with the intention of just looking at MLR as a whole, the kind of a recap of the season. I might end up doing a piece on the game itself. So look out in Forbes. Might be just one piece on the championship and one on kind of a wrap up of the season, where MLR is heading, and where rugby in the U.S. is heading.
All right, and quickly, last thing, who are you cheering for? You don't have to say who's going to win.
No, actually, you do have to say
I
who's
think
going
that
to
might
win.
be an easy question for a journalist. That might be an easier question.
Well, I
So
mean, come on.
prediction.
Everyone can still cheer for a
Yeah.
team, but when he writes, it should be
Okay,
unbiased.
so who do I think is going to win?
Sure.
It's hard to go against the Free Jacks. They're two-time
Okay.
defending champs. They look pretty strong, although last game was
Right.
a tight one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I will lean towards the Free Jacks in terms of who I think will win.
Okay.
Who I want to win, I'll be honest and say I don't have an MLR team that I avidly support.
Yep.
So I'm just looking forward to enjoying the match.
Love that.
I do live in DC, so if I had to pledge allegiance to anybody,
There you
it
go.
would be Old Glory.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Awesome. Well, wait, we got a
Awesome.
gift for you.
We do have a
Yes.
shirt for you. Is this a large?
So, yeah, I think so.
And meanwhile, be sure to check out Vitas Carosella on
you go.
Forbes.com.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
Thank you
and
so
other
much.
places.
Awesome.
Thank you,
And,
sir.
and look out
Yeah.
for those two articles, for sure.
Thank
Yes.
you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah.
We're really casual. We don't have a production to
Thank
just.
you. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Thanks, man. Good luck this weekend.
Awesome. Well, hey, awesome insight there in terms of
Super cool.
the coverage that Major League Rugby is getting. We do have now the funneling of guests coming in
Yes,
now.
the guests are just lining up.
And this is one we're really pumped to talk about.
We
Brandon
are, for
Sparks.
sure.
He got us excited last
Yeah,
night. Well,
he did.
at the Guild.
There you go. Brandon, how's it going, man? How excited are you for today?
Yeah, pretty excited. We're T-4 hours away from kickoff, I think, at this point. So yeah, I was there until about 1:30 last night.
Oh, gee.
What most people would call micromanaging, I call strong leadership of the crew that was flipping it from soccer. But yeah, no, it'd be exciting, especially here, and the rugby culture and community that exists here. You'll be hard pressed to find anything better in the country than right here.
And last night we were speaking to you at one of the events, and you brought up some innovation that could possibly be happening next year. Can you share any of that with us?
Yeah, so a lot of credit needs to go to the team that I get to lead. Aaron Castro, Amy Valenta, David Wilkinson, Kevin Battle. Those people, I came in, and it's easy for me as the captain to be this is our true north. We're going to go there. We really want things to become more fan first.
Yeah.
Make it accessible, make the rugby more accessible, easier to get to for everybody involved. But additionally, if you look at the macro issues that are occurring in global rugby right now, there's a TMO issue. So we're looking at some pretty innovative things come 2026, led by David Wilkinson, who's phenomenal to work with, and we're lucky to have him as our director of referees.
Yeah.
And then some, unique Americanisms, if you will, technology-wise. I don't want to.
Some people don't like that.
Yeah,
term,
yeah.
but-
I'll tease it, but I'm not going to break the news all the way.
Okay.
Well, in terms of that fan involvement, I think there isn't any better reflection of that than what we've experienced here yesterday at the Fan Festival. Obviously today with fans kind of pouring in here. I mean, talk about this weekend and the build-up to the championship today. It's more than just the 2 o'clock kickoff. It really has been, it sounds like, for the league to get people to buy into a weekend of festivities. You've seen it now in hand. I'm sure you guys have been working away and been pumped up for today. How fun has it been?
I mean, a lot of credit needs to be given to the commercial team led by Lucas Reed, who's the new CRO here. He brings a lot of experience from USA Hockey as well as the Dallas Stars. And like when he came in here, the first thing he said was like, we've got to do more than just a game and a VIP event. So this is the start of what should be a multi-year effort to make this more of a weekend experience. Jericho Gorland did a great job. Danielle Bassetti is really the superhero behind all of this weekend. So like everything that anybody's going to get to experience in an MLR touch point today, credit needs to go to all of them. Like I've got the easy part. I just got to make sure rugby is played. The rest of the team has done a phenomenal job all week doing this.
Hey, before you jump in, Matt, I'm sorry. We mentioned it earlier, actually, how welcoming everyone's been for us.
Yeah.
Right, just what can we do for you kind of thing, and it's just been a joy for us, and I know the fans are feeling it as well from everybody.
Yeah, like the RIFC has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like it is the most welcoming stadium I've ever worked in globally. Like not even just in America or the MLR, I'll say globally in my experience. And like they gave me a walkie-talkie today. I didn't ask for it. They also gave me a key card that gets me into all the rooms. I was like, guys, like, I really appreciate this, but I don't want this level of responsibility of your brand new stadium.
Don't want to break it.
Exactly. Break it, I bought it, I guess. So,
So, the finals and this event is a great way to kind of put a bow on a great season that we had. And we were talking about it earlier of like the parity in this league. Everything was just made to be one of the best seasons that we've had in the MLR. I wanted to get some of your thoughts as we look back on the year. Like, what were some of the great things that you thought happened this year? What's your kind of reflection on the season that was for the MLR?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. Like, so you guys understand the transition to me into this director of rugby role. I didn't take over until week 4.
Yeah.
A lot of credit needs to be given to Nish, who I've taken on part of his role, but he gave me a really good platform. I mean, some of the bigger points is like, let's talk about the parity this year. Like rolling into week 17, 9 of the 11 teams are still alive to do something, which was an incredible feat. That's important because it makes it exciting for us. There's also some things like, everybody, there's a bunch of rabble-rousers, and, I lurk on the old Reddits, all right? I follow the Tweety Birds, all of that, the Tiki-Takis, and, there was a large cry from the community about the number of scrums, given the scrum laws. I'm happy to report that there's been more scrums this year.
Wow, okay.
So, breaking news, the internet was wrong. But what? The first time
that doesn't
ever.
happen.
Overall, you're seeing somebody like Houston that's finally back in the final, which is good for entertainment value. Like they've got a great story with the players there. Like Pote Human is probably one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. I told him a cemetery joke yesterday when I was driving him to the hotel.
God.
He laughed hysterically. It wasn't that funny of a joke, and I appreciated him for that because the youth in the car rolled their eyes pretty heavily.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Now, I guess looking into the championship this afternoon, what are you hoping to expect from the actual gameplay on the field? Obviously, fans are buying in and they're getting ready for it. But what are your expectations? And I know it's a loaded question for you because you obviously have a different perspective on it. But what's your take on this afternoon?
I mean, professionally, I hope both teams have fun. Okay. Professionally, both teams have to have fun. That's I'm legally required to say that in my job description. But if you're looking at the matchup, it's a pretty contrasting style. Physically, Houston is the team. You watch them bully Utah last week. Maybe I'm not allowed to say that, but facts are facts. But then on the flip side, New England is so dynamic, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to what the kicking game looks like and who can win the possession. And then I think this is going to be a big set-piece battle this weekend. So for the traditionalists, the old tweed jacket and Guinness crowds will probably be excited and maybe rooting for Houston, while the flashy hair gel tank top wearing crowd is probably going to be rooting for New England.
And Brandon, finally, fans coming down here for the game, whether it's the Guild or the stadium, what should they be expecting? What excitement should they be expecting?
Oh, I mean, I think the proximity of the Guild to the stadium is a big piece of all of this. So, the crowd, they can come down here, they can actually walk to the stadium. We have the shuttle experience. There's going to be touch points with the players afterwards. So the champion will show up at the Guild afterwards. So they'll get that whole experience. I'm accessible. I'm here, obviously, talking to you guys. Other people are telling me, I've heard a lot of opinions, some facts. But overall, the stadium experience, I think too, is going to be really cool. It's a close field, so you're going to be in the action. I've essentially lived there for the last 4 days. I've yet to find a bad viewpoint. And then, obviously, the whole reason we're all here is for the rugby. And I think the rugby is going to be good. Both teams made it out of their finals healthy. They've got that same team rolling out this weekend, and both have got some pretty exciting firepower.
Awesome. Well, we got a parting gift.
We got a parting gift for you.
We have a nice shirt for you.
So you're looking good.
Yeah.
Where you're at. So there you go.
Love it,
Nice
guys.
so
Thank you.
Yeah, Brandon Sparks, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
We'll see you again soon.
Appreciate Brandon.
See you there.
I'll get that from you, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Brandon
And
Sparks.
without hesitation, our next guest is here. He's lurking off camera. He's staring at me right now. And a man who is
the myth, the legend.
A man who has spoken to a few microphones.
There you go.
I love it.
I first want to say that we talked at the
Dallen
beginning of the
Stanford,
show that we've been meeting a lot of people who have been talking with virtually over social media.
Yeah.
And we've been talking a little bit back and forth with Dallen. It's great to
Great
meet
to see you.
man.
Great to meet you. Thanks for having me
Legend.
on.
Yes.
Fantastic. Love what you guys do. Love it. So
Thank you.
Appreciate
Same
it.
here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So,
What is your role this weekend? Why are you here?
So firstly, I used to live in Providence, Rhode Island.
That's right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Close,
So my wife and I, we lived here for a couple of years just after the pandemic time period. And then it is amazing when MLR announced that Rhode Island's going to be the host. So we thought we got to come back. My wife and I were in Portugal for a couple of weeks. I was an ambassador for the Algarve Sevens. And we came via New England to see her family afterwards. And MLR said, okay, well, can you do the Eastern Conference final at my old fortress, Quincy, of course, as you know well. And then, I'm doing sideline again today with the crew, which is really cool. So the thing about the broadcasting is normally in MLR season, you're remote. And so you don't really get to be amongst it all and be live. So being sideline and working that role, I love it because you get to interact with everybody before and afterwards, which is so cool.
let's reflect on this season, Dallen. I mean, it's been, we say, and I don't think it's a hyperbole to say that this, in our opinion, has been the best Major League Rugby season to date.
It's great, yeah.
We talked about the parity. We talked about it really felt like any weekend was any given team could win. Being in the thick of it, what was your kind of thoughts on 2025?
I think you're so right. The fact that if you look at the win-loss record during the season for the teams tells you the story, which is, as you said, on the day, anybody can beat anybody. And I think when you get to that kind of level of competition, that's when a league does really well. You never want to have a situation where you're going in where you know a certain team's going to win. And that's kind of why I love the sevens. Because sevens, you don't know who's going to win. Sure. And the same is for Major Rugby. So you're going to ask me later, who's going to win today? Honestly, no. I can see Houston winning. I can see New England winning. And so that's interesting, isn't it?
We're scratching that off of our list of questions. For no one's going to answer that, honestly. It's not like you're going to say, well, obviously, Houston by 3.
Well, listen, the other thing is also, when asked about predictions, my wife says to me, you better not predict anybody else against New England. Yeah. And so we had a few drinks in Newport just down the road on the waterfront during one of the sunsets, and I said, listen, who's going to win? And she doesn't even know MLR at all, really. Right. But she's like, well, who's playing? I go, well, it's New England. She goes, they're going to win.
There you go. Of course. Well, she's from the area as well. So have you been to Westport? Did you get over to Westport?
Yes, exactly. Yes. We went to Westport recently, so we've been cruising around. It's just great to be back. And this time of year is so lovely. Of course, the fall's another great time. So just honored to be here, and I just can't wait.
Yeah, so I mean, I got to start. Yeah. The nicknames you come up with are some of the best nicknames. You know, Ryberg, what was it with the
quadricep with
eyeballs?
We have that cut on our show that we say all the time.
Yeah, and we love it. But I want to ask, so all your experience kind of broadcasting sevens, and then your experience now with the MLR, how does the fan base or your experience here versus sevens versus MLR, how does that compare? And what do you see as like almost like an opportunity for the MLR? Because sevens was obviously a huge global experience and global sport.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I've been involved for about 20 years in rugby here in the US, and the first question I got asked from my South African friends are, how is rugby growing there? And they only really see the on-field product.
Yep.
And that's hard to judge, right? Because the women's and men's 15s side teams are obviously improving over the years. Right. The women particularly, of course. Yes. Sevens, bronze medalists, which is fantastic. Both teams are 2 in the world, so they see that. But what they don't see is the fan engagement engagement on the ground, the community feel as well, which I think is so impressive. That's one thing I've noticed in all the different cities I've been to and travel, is that you meet people that may have only learnt about rugby last month or a year ago and are obsessed with it. The young kids are throwing the ball around and also obviously saying, pretending to be Alona Ma or whoever the star is that they're watching. And I think that's exciting and galvanizing the community. And even here, we're now in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, are walking on the streets and they're like, oh yeah, you're going to that thing later, the rugby thing? I'm like, yeah, I'll see you there. So it is really exciting and amazing to see that take off. And with Rugby World Cups coming here in 2031 and 2033 and the Olympics before that, honestly, I'm so excited for it all.
And just quickly,
go ahead.
A short question for you. Obviously, you're in the thick of it, watching it, calling it. You ever call a game or on the sideline, you're like, you know what? I miss playing. Why am I not out? wait. Has that ever come to your mind?
So I tell you what, whenever you get to a new stadium and you walk around, you're like, wow, imagine playing here. Absolutely. So I got a chance to do the last 2 Rugby World Cups, and one of my highlights was Ireland against South Africa at Stade de France, packed stadium, and walking around there going, what an honor it is for these players to be. Also, what an honor for me just to be talking about the game sideline. But you're right, often you get that feeling when you're at a new stadium and it's a vibe, and it's no different. Today at Centerville Bank Stadium, spoke to Joe Johnston, and he said, this is an absolute cauldron. When you walk in there, he says, if you don't get fired up for rugby, you're in the wrong sport if you get to that stadium. Well said.
Grass pitch, right?
Yeah.
It is.
No, artificial.
Oh, it is
pitch.
artificial. Okay, but the newer pitches, artificial pitches, feel like grass.
They really do.
Last thing for you before I let you go, it's well known. Obviously, this is somewhat of a home match for New England, and you're in your travels, as I mentioned. Seattle does a great job with fan involvement. San Diego, New England, obviously. Talk about others that really have stepped it up, and maybe things you've seen. Do they have post-game concerts? What are they offering?
Yes, that's a great question. Utah does a wonderful job. I got to be there a couple of times. Houston was fantastic. Los Angeles is improving their fan engagement. I think New England is my favorite only because it's good to come home, if you will.
Is, yes.
And speaking to the supporter groups as well before. I think what the main things are, people take it upon themselves and they come up with their own name, they come up with their own chants and songs. Free Jackson on Fire was one of the great ones last week. Yeah. I'm walking down the street, I'm like, oh, that's a classic. So they really take the identity to themselves and don't copy anybody else. But authentically themselves. And I think that's really good. And again, I would say all 11 franchises are doing a wonderful job in their own right to grow the game.
Ways.
And I think that's the key, where more and more people come and can touch the sport and see the game. Because that's the biggest thing. Before MLR, there wasn't many places one could go and watch a live proper rugby game. And when I mean proper, well organized, professional stuff like that. So I want to say hats off to all the teams in MLR. And again, hats off to you guys for growing the game.
Thank you. We do it for the money.
So you kind of called it, but here comes the question.
Yes, shoot it.
I will not ask you maybe directly what the prediction will be, but what are you expecting between these two teams this afternoon?
Yeah, so we know that Houston is unbelievably physical, chatting to their players and coaches as the build up to this. I expect them to be leading at halftime. I expect it to be a very intense set-piece battle, particularly with how things go at the line-out time for Houston. If they can get better results at line-out time and they can get some penalties against New England, I think they'll do really well. But saying all that, New England have such a deep bench. They have such a talented group. They mentally, I on the sideline was watching that last game, just couldn't believe their comeback. Because generally you get panicked when pressure is applied. They don't. So what they've done off the field has really been good and strong. And so I think it's going to be as tight as a facelift, but I think New England may come through.
There you go.
Dallen Stanford, we got something for you.
We do have a gift for you.
Oh, get out of here, guys.
And you have to wear it at the game
here we go.
today.
There we go.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much. Oh, yes. Loving that.
There you go.
Thank you. Yeah. So sleek. Well, listen, thank you for having me on. So good to catch up,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So good luck today and all the best. I'm sure we'll
Thanks
see you.
very much, you stars. Appreciate you guys.
There you go.